Welcome to the Buckhorn Podcast. I am Martelle, and Mo and I are on the road to Indy.
In 2016, they added a backup camera, which is shit. It's just a little screen up here in the mirror.
Well, I've never used one, but I just feel like having it in the rear view like that is kind of like, meh, because it's so small.
Yeah, it doesn't do a damn bit of good. But they've got this huge 6-disc CD player, like right in the dash, that they could easily add a screen this size right in the dash, or have a fold-out screen.
Well, they weren't doing that back in the day. It was all about the CD player. We didn't have these big, massive displays.
No,
back around that time.
But working in car audio, like a few years prior to that, we were putting screens in cars forever.
Yeah, but that was like custom shit, though.
In some cases, like Alpine had in-dash versions that came out and folded up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, they could have easily just done something like just a fixed version of that.
Oh, wait, it like slid out like a...
Yeah, it
like
came
a CD
out
tray and then popped
and then
up.
Popped
I remember
up.
those.
Yeah, they had like 7-inch screens because there's all that dead space behind the dash. So
I remember
a hell of a lot better of a vehicle.
I was in Arizona at the time. All that stuff was becoming popular, and they made the ones that used to hang in the passenger area.
Yeah,
they made those illegal.
I hated selling those things
because they were. I remember seeing some pretty big ass ones.
Oh, they were
like 12-inch.
Oh, we put in. I think the biggest one we put in was they had a cut. It was more of like a custom 24-inch one you could order from AudioVox. Mm-hmm. And
they were a thing.
Yeah. Well, AudioVox was like, you always saw them like at Radio Shack, and you're like, oh, that's a shitty brand.
Well, they make.
They were like,
they made somebody else's stuff too.
Well, they were a brand behind the brand, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, they made all kinds of shit that no one realized that they were making other people's stuff, and it was high quality stuff.
Yeah.
But we had this dude that came in. He was a drug dealer, and
allegedly,
yeah. But
he was a offer of illicit materials.
He was a street pharmacist.
There you go. I like that.
And you could tell he was a street pharmacist
because he paid for everything in 20s.
He paid for everything in 20s in cash, maybe a 50 here and there, lots of 5s and 1s. And
all rolled up.
Yeah, you had to unroll and unwrap and straighten everything out. But the candy green apple paint job with Fleck, and the before 24s were even a thing.
It wasn't candy green. That was now or later.
Well, it was like Jolly Rancher green, but it was like a 4-tone like paint job on it.
Depending on which way the light.
No, like it had pattern. Like It was painted patterns, but they were all like this shade of green.
Okay.
That stood out, and then it was all like silver flake over top of that.
It? Okay.
Yeah.
With the clear coat.
Everything just kind of it shimmered and sparkled. And
it screamed. Did it sound like it screamed pimp more than drug dealer?
It screamed pimp. I mean, he was a pimp too. I mean, let's be honest. That he referred to his harem as head monsters. But he had 24s that were matched. They were these green, the same Jolly Rancher green.
24s before you could buy 24s off the rack.
Yeah. They were green and silver, and this was in like a Caprice. But we put
classic.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, good. I mean, that's
no, not classic. Sorry, like police car Caprice, or no, it was a Lexus. I'm sorry, it was like a Lexus 400 series, like the big ass 400 sedans.
Back then. The long ones.
The real long ones.
Yeah.
And so
my dad drove one of those for the longest time. He really liked it.
He had 6 screens in that.
So
he had 1 in the dash.
Yeah. 2 in the headrest.
2 in the headrest.
And then 2 behind.
2 in the headrest that were in the back seat, so people in the back of the behind you could watch.
Yeah,
it was just unnecessary.
That was referred to as hater vision.
Yeah, and then he had the big 24-inch one that
hanging
just hung
from the
down.
middle. Yeah,
hanging down.
You're gonna
yeah. And so he had all that, And he got pulled over. Like the last time I saw him, he got pulled over, not for passing out, street pharmacy stuff, or for his harem getting in trouble and him having to slap a bitch up.
It was for his televisions.
He was watching porn while driving down the street, and a woman called because he had all the screens running, like the 24-inch screen, all 6 screens running simultaneously. And so he got pulled over. He's like, so need you guys to go in and order me a new headliner and remove the 24-inch screen, and I need 2 new headrests for the back seats, because I got to remove 3 screens out of this because I got cited. He was like a $5,000 fine for like lewd and inappropriate, lewd and inappropriate behavior.
Well, but he wasn't actually the one behaving lewdly. I mean,
nope, but he got hit for it.
The man.
And he was just like, these motherfuckers.
And hence the first Karen was born.
Yeah, he was like, these motherfuckers keeping me down. I can't do,
how a man can't watch porn while he's driving.
He's like, how am I supposed to do my job? I'm like, are you shitting me? Yeah, everything was green. And, it was the same, like, bullshit, like, Don the Magic Wand. Like,
oh, yeah.
Green is for the money,
I know
gold
exactly.
is for the honeys. that was his thing. Everything was green.
I know exactly of which shade of green you speak.
Yes. And I was just like, all right then. Yeah, we had that guy, and then we had another guy who was also he was a tactical street pharmacist. He actually lived in his car.
Interesting.
So he had an Astro van.
So it was it that, what's the new thing that the young kids are doing where they live in the vans?
Oh, they do like the adventure camping, but they just live in vans and nomad their way across the United States.
So he was a pioneer.
Yeah, he's a pioneer in living in his vehicle in downtown Columbus.
Yeah.
Nowhere else. Just adventuring through
But Columbus is a big city, though. Lots of places to go explore.
Yeah, lots of places to park your van in an alley and get one
urban
of those,
camping.
Get one of those head monsters. But he was legitimate. He was a homeless dude. He did not have a house. When I say homeless, and his name was Craig. He was, every time you come in, they're like, "Hey, Craig." You just say it just like they did on Friday.
Yeah.
And this guy had 4 15s in the back of this Astro van, and like 8 batteries. Each 15 was running on two amps, because they didn't make amps big enough to power what we needed to power.
So you had to have the...
so you had like...
What are those things called?
We didn't... we had resistors.
Yeah, thank you.
We had resistors. It was 4 batteries, 4 resistors, 2 amps per sub, and that's all. That's it.
So what kind of subs were they?
They were...
Blaupunk?
No. I want to say he had old school kicker.
Okay.
Like the
original kickers.
The original
the ones that
would
that were like 50 pounds a piece.
Yeah, they were
with the massive
heavy.
Batteries. Or not batteries, magnets.
Magnets on them, yeah. Stupid heavy shit that he had in the back of his van. And then when he was a cool dude. I mean, God knows whatever happened to him. He was a pretty cool guy. He tried to pay in cocaine once. He like literally came in. He's like, I don't have any money. He goes, I got a bag on me. He goes, it's worth about $5,000. I'm like, are you shitting me?
Yeah, you can take that 5 and turn it into 10, man.
Just
cut it.
Yeah, you just follow.
That's what I saw that on an after school special.
I mean, I listen to Biggie Smalls, and he tells you about the 10 crack commandments.
Yes, yeah.
But it was.
It's called consignment, and that's some bullshit.
But it was, he literally tried to pay in cocaine, and we didn't care. We could have cared less what our customers did.
Yeah.
But the manager was just like,
he toiled over it, didn't he?
He thought about it for a minute, and he's like, I can't turn this over.
Yeah.
He's like, but we could have a good time in the back, in the garage after hours.
He's like, I don't even think I can do this much cocaine.
And he's like, this is so much, like, there ain't enough hookers' asses we can snort this off of.
In the whole of Columbus.
In all of Columbus to do this. And so he told him, he's like, He's like, we'll do the work. He goes, but we're gonna hold your vehicle until you can come back with that bag sold. And he legitimately like went out and sold. He moved that shit quick. And he's like, I actually got $6,000 for it. And he bought everybody lunch.
That's a nice customer. Right there.
I mean, all of our illicit customers were the best customers. And we had a couple like crazy rich customers too that would come in to have shit done to like these classy like Mercedes.
Yeah.
And they would want a more
like custom job.
A custom job, more higher end audio. They weren't like bass heads out trying to.
Yeah, they just wanted real crisp.
Yeah, they weren't running around with boom thump kill whitey stuff.
I didn't realize that was a genre of music.
Yeah, it's a
boom thump kill. I'll have to Spotify that.
That was one of the references by, I think it was either Craig or the other guy, and he just came in. He's like, man, I'm rolling around out there in the streets. He's listening to the boom thump kill whitey bullshit, and I was like, what?
And I got pulled over.
He's like, I got pulled over for noise ordinance. Like you don't say, you know, that
really
the 215s in the trunk had nothing to do with that, right? And he's like, it wasn't that loud.
Yeah.
He's like, he said he could hear me 3 blocks away.
Did you have to like do the insulation in the trunk and everything?
Oh yeah, we did. We did all the Dynamat stuff. We did.
That stuff was not cheap.
No, then these guys were spending money on it. We had, like I said, we had guys we had older, like they wanted just a cleaner, crisper sound, so we would do all these really nice like stealth installation stuff. But we had, when I first started, I think it was Serwin Vega. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think of the name of the sub that they had out at the time. It was ridiculous. Like, it was at the time, like, the world's loudest sub. You get like they partnered with an amp manufacturer
to make
the amp for the sub, because no one made an amp big enough.
Was it Serwin Vega or LA Sound that used to make that unlimited wattage amps?
That may have been LA Sound.
Okay.
But like Serwin Vega had like this sub was it was a 12, so they did a 12 and a 15. They did not promote the 15 as much because it got sloppy. But they promoted the shit out of the 12. I think the speaker weighed about 100 pounds a piece. So it had an 80-pound magnet on it.
Yeah, well, for a 12?
For a 12.
So then it probably had really good low-end resonance for a 12 then.
Yeah. It had, the speaker cone itself was only maybe 8 inches in diameter.
So it was real tight then.
And it was tight.
Yeah.
The coil was a double coil or like triple coil system, and then the foam surround was 3 or 4 inches. Well, one, it was like 12 millimeters thick. Like the shit was super thick foam for around the cone, and then it was also from the edge of the frame to the center to the edge of the cone. It was probably like 4 inches thick, and just had this hump in it.
Yeah. So
you'd push down and it would just slowly come back up. You push down again, and we got yelled at for doing that shit too. But they installed 3 12s in a newer Impala, like an Impala SS.
Yeah.
It had, they upgraded all the speakers around. They did some by-9s and some tweeters. And
a lot of people slept on the 6x9s.
They did. Well, I guess
they're good for like mid-range.
I got stories about that too.
I liked them.
I liked them. I didn't have an issue with them. I wanted them where the application was appropriate. Like, I didn't want to put 6x9s in where someone had like 5x7s, because then now you're getting into cutting in frames and doing all this other stuff that it ended up being custom work, which I wasn't doing it. The customer's paying for it. I was just the sales guy. So they set all this up, and this guy wanted it for a competition. Like, he was trying to build a competition car. So we sealed everything. We didn't, like, weld the door shut. He still wanted to drive it around as a daily car, but he wanted to be able to use it for these SPL competitions. Yeah. They turned it on. And first thing, all you heard was a hum, like, kind of like Marty McFly from Back to the Future when he, like, cranks the amp up. The first bass hit, the installer was sitting in it before
With the windows up?
Windows are up. Like he's testing it. Like so he's got everything turned all the way down.
Yeah.
And he's testing. He's just making sure that everything's set.
Oh, so he's doing test signals.
He's doing testing. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So he's not like putting music.
No.
Okay.
He was just running like some low frequency stuff to tune the subs and to tune the high end and do everything. Well, he didn't have it turned up that high, and he's like slowly like turning up the volume to a reasonable listening level, and it's basically someone talking, like, you know, we're just talking, and it's so he can get this, and then it'll say, okay, in 3 seconds we're gonna play, you know,
this sound,
negative decibel, whatever, and it went, and he opened up the door and fell out, and he's like, fuck.
He probably got dizzy.
It sucked all the air out of the goddamn car. So
he just narked himself out.
He like opened the door, fell out onto the floor, and everyone looks at him, and you could hear it, but he's just like, it was so fucking low, it just sucked all the air out of the car, and everyone's like, bullshit.
Like, try it.
So, well, the manager Hex, he comes in, and he looks at Wade, and he's like, it ain't that bad. He gets in and like he goes and grabs like a Beastie Boys CD or something, or it was either Beastie Boys or it was damn, it feels good to be a gangster. Why am I blanking on the
Scarface?
No, the
Ghetto Boys.
Ghetto Boys. It was either Beastie Boys or Ghetto Boys, and he throws that shit in, and he's sitting in there and he's just like keeps just turning it up. And Hex has been doing it he'd been doing car audio shit for years.
So he's probably mildly deaf.
Yeah, and he's just sitting in there, and it's shaking the building. Like the neighbors, because we were connected to a rug right, carpet place next door. Their shit was falling off their walls because of this car, and it's the loudest car at that time that they had ever built.
Yeah.
Watch out, hazard reported.
And so they're coming over, they're bitching. Hex is like, he's just looking around the car because everybody's like not in the shop anymore because they just can't stand in there.
Yeah,
because
your guts are like getting jiggled.
Yeah, and he gets out and he goes, I think you did a really good job. And Wade's like, fuck you. He's like, how the hell? He's like, I've just been doing it for so long, it just doesn't bother me anymore.
Just used to it, yeah.
And the bright red guys were just like, what the fuck? They're like, you guys moved in next to us. You knew you were getting into it.
Oh, yeah, that's a you problem.
Yeah, that's like moving into a gun range and then bitching that people were shooting guns all the time. Shit. Which, that happens down where I live, too.
I'm sure.
Because I live near a gun club. But yeah, it was just like, just ridiculous.
So what was this? Because I've heard you...
hazard reported ahead.
Because I've heard you talk about it on the show before, like, where did you work at?
It was Columbus Car Audio.
So it was just like it was a standalone car audio.
Yeah,
joint?
they had at the time they had 4 locations.
But I mean, it wasn't like a Circuit City or
no. It was a standalone mom and pop style shop. I think they're down to 1 or 2 shop or two or 3 shops.
Oh, so they're still around.
They're still around. Yeah,
okay.
they're still doing stuff, and like Christmas was the big time. You know, you're selling remote starters. Like you're selling remote starters, and you're scheduling them out weeks in advance. Like because you just. Like, someone will come in...
Waiting for the winter.
In October. No, just someone will come in and, like, the sales start in October. And you get someone who comes in, like, about now, and you're like, yeah, I can get you in, I don't know, the first week of December. And they're like, what? I'm like, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's, like, legitimately a big thing. You're gonna have to wait. So
I'm looking for one. Like, what's some... And maybe I should just have you look for me, but...
Honestly, I have no idea. Like, I always liked Viper as an alarm, remote entry, and remote start system. That's what I had on my my
Audi?
GTI.
Yeah.
No, I haven't had remote start since my Volkswagen. That's what I had on my Volkswagen, and you have to leave it in manual or in neutral, because if you leave it in gear and you remote start,
it'll jump.
It'll jump forward. It may jump forward into a building.
No, I had that happen to a friend of mine. His girlfriend didn't know that, and she started it, and it lunged, and it hit her in the leg, and it compromised her popliteal artery, which is the one right behind your knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, she almost lost her leg.
Yeah. I had one of the guys had remote start on his, and he was parked directly behind the building, and there was like a truck delivery bay, and then we all parked up here, and he hit it, and it jumped through the rail, and the front wheels ended up over the edge into that truck delivery bay.
Wow.
because someone was fucking around with his remote, like trying to. I don't know what the hell they were trying to do. They did a lot of fucked up shit, fucking around with people's cars in the parking lot, like other employees. Like they completely iced my car down. Jeez. And I got pissed. Oh, I was so pissed.
So did you just work in the audio section?
But that's all we did.
I mean, but I'm saying, but you did tell it. I mean, so did everybody work? Did everybody do everything?
Oh, no. I was just sales.
Okay.
I absolutely hated it. I actually ended up getting fired because I said that I didn't like doing sales. They accused me of saying that what was it? That I could have given a shit whether I sold something or not, because I got paid either way. We worked on commission, but we also got paid minimum wage.
Salary plus commission.
Yeah, we got paid
wage plus commission.
Yeah, hourly wage plus commission. And the commissions weren't that great. Like, you had to sell a lot of stuff.
Did it go by volume or did it go by...
Well, it was based on, at the time, it was based on product. Different product had different percent of commission.
Okay.
But like a remote start, you may make 2% on the whole sale as a whole. So the product and the installation.
Oh, well, that's... I mean, because installation sometimes is just as much as the damn product.
Well, you would sell them for $180.
Uh-huh.
So you'd get 2% of that. That's what just a standard
Commission.
remote start. Well, that was just the remote start with installation was $180 out the door.
Oh, that's reasonable.
So it wasn't bad, but you only got 2% of that.
Yeah.
Well, so you have to make anything matter.
You got to sell a bunch.
You got to sell a bunch of them. And the more higher end products had higher commissions, but it depended on what it was. So like, if you sold an audio, like a visual system, like a multimedia system, you may get 5% on that, but you're also looking at
the $1,000 versus $180.
$1,000
Yeah.
and 5% of that commission. But if you sold a complete system that wasn't like, because we had cheaper subs, like you wouldn't be surprised when someone would come in and be like, I want to do 412s, and I want these kickers, and I want this kicker amp, and I want this head unit. And when you give them a quote, they're like, okay, what's the cheapest sub you have?
Mm-hmm.
What's an amp that'll run this?
Mm-hmm.
And let's switch from this, fold-out screen to just a basic head unit. And now you went from, like, maybe making a total of 20% on the sale
mm-hmm.
to
10%.
6%.
Okay.
Because you
now
just
your
downgraded.
Juice, now your juice is getting
you
messed
just
with. Yeah.
downgraded everything. And you always made, like, 2 to 3% on installation. Like, that was just across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the installation was, you got 2% of that, and then once it factored into and averaged out with whatever the percentage of the product was you sold, that's where I got the, like, 2% of the remote start install. So it was fun while I worked there. We fucked around a lot. Like, I got trashed one night in OU, and then had to be in Easton, which is where it was close to where I lived at the time. Had to be at work at 7 a.m. So at 5:30 in the morning, I got up, still completely blitzed, hungover, drove from OU in Athens all the way to Easton.
OU, not OSU.
No, OU.
Okay.
Completely trashed.
That's a good 2 hours?
It's about an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. All the way straight to work. Had my roommate, because the guys I lived with, we all worked together. Had my roommate grab me a shirt,
mm-hmm.
and
a fresh polo.
Yep, that's what it was, fresh polo. And went straight to the shop, and like got my head stuck between a box, like a stack of like 12-inch subs, and
Watch out, vehicle on shoulder ahead,
and a hand truck. Like, it just bent over, and my roommate like came in and like went to grab he wasn't paying attention. I was picking something up, and just wedged my head in between a stack of 12s and a hand truck, and my head already hurt. And I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, it was always.
It sounded like you worked there for a while, though.
I was there for about 9 months.
That's it?
I lasted 9 months.
Oh wow, you have a lot of stories from that place just for 9 months, because I feel like you talk about it frequently.
That was 1 week.
Oh shit.
I'm even surprised I remember half the shit that happened there. Like the buy nines, we would have guys come in we had a lot of unsavory customers as well. It wasn't all, street cartel and rich people. We had like unsavory guys that would come in like baggy ass sweatpants. You could see their Glock or their Smith & Wesson just hanging out of like the waistband.
Yeah.
And they'd come in and they're just like, man,
Police reported ahead.
I want to get some buy nines. And you're like, buy nines? This is like the first time that I heard this phrasing. He's like, yeah, I want to get some buy nines. What the fuck is a buy nine? And one of the guys comes over, he's like, 6 by 9. He's like, 6 by 9s. He goes, we're going to have to bring you up on the slang. I'm like, that's a made up term. He's like, yeah, that's why it's slang. I'm like, all right.
That's how these things work, Brandon.
So yeah, well then, like we had guys that would come in and be like, how much is an emote in a boat?
Remote in a boat?
No, I need that clicky whoop, whoop, an emote in a boat.
The clicky.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, what system do you have? I don't know. That one is with the snake and stuff.
With the snake and stuff.
Oh, okay, so you've got a Viper system. Yeah, whatever, man. How much is an emote for that system? And you're like, wow.
How could you have the system and not have a remote?
You lose the remote.
Oh, okay.
You lost your keys because you were drunk when you were going down on one of the head monsters. She took your shit and ran. I don't know. But yeah, it was like an emote and buy nines, and I'm still trying to remember some of the other
clicky.
That was the best. Like the guy came in, like it was a storefront, so you just walked in, and you'd be like, hey, welcome to Columbus Car Audio. Well, we didn't get that out of the mouth. The guy walks in, he's like, hey, how much is the moat in the moat?
It depends what you mean by
like what do you
moat.
He's like
moat.
He's like, yeah, I need the clicky. Whoop, whoop. I'm like, all right, well.
Remote. It's like charades almost.
Yeah, it's like charades. And everybody looked at him like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Oh, so it wasn't just you?
No, it wasn't me. Like, we all, like, stood there, and there's 3 of us in the store, and we just kind of looked at each other like...
Hoping one of you would have deciphered what he was...
Yeah,
he was putting out.
I looked at the other 2, and I'm just like... They're like, I don't know.
I got nothing.
And Wade was fucking hilarious. Like, everything, he was just it didn't matter who was in the store, like smart asses, and he's sitting there and he's like, what the fuck is a moat in a moat? And the guy's like, yeah, no. So.
No, I don't. Honestly, that's why I'm further inquiring.
Yeah.
I need some clarity here.
I need to know what a moat is. So now I continuously use moat at home. Like.
With the kids?
With Liz, because she knows. Like, she heard about all these stories after, because her and I got together after I left Columbus Car Audio. Mm-hmm. And I'll say, hey, you got the moat over there? You want to turn it up?
Clicky.
Whoop, whoop.
I think that's the best part of it, is the whoop, whoop.
It's just, and shit, like, it was stuff like that would happen all the time where people would come in and they'd call things different names.
But it made sense to them.
It made sense to them, so
yeah.
it worked, I guess, but the moat's my favorite.
Yeah, I used to work at a pizza place, and I remember a guy asked for 2 plates of pizza. So I'm thinking a plate, like a slice?
Yeah.
So then I go to get 2 slices of pizza. Like, no, he's like, I want 2 plates. I'm like a whole pizza? Yeah, plate. Okay.
That's a tray. That's a tray. That ain't a plate. Man, just some of the shit that people do is classic. Love it.
So where else did you work? What other jobs have you had?
That was probably the most fun job I had. I've mentioned I've worked at Abercrombie before.
What you did? You worked at a store and then you got promoted up into like corporate.
Yeah. So there's a story behind that as well. So I started when I moved to Columbus in '99
from
Toronto.
Okay.
Ohio.
Not Toronto.
Not Toronto, Canada.
Toronto,
Ohio. So I took like a leap year or whatever that
gap year,
and
because you were going to ITT.
No, I was going to DeVry.
Okay. And they went out of business, didn't they?
I think so. Now the building is now like a child care center.
Okay. But I'm talking about like nationwide. I think they went out of business for
They may have.
For like, not corrosive, corrupt practices.
Probably embezzlement and all kinds of other shit. That place sucked.
Well, I heard a lot of it had to do with like, especially federally funded tuition.
Oh.
There was some way they were weaseling that and screwing people, but getting money from the government.
I got completely fucked. Like, I was paying that shit off years after I left there.
Yeah, I looked at going there for a little bit, and then when I was running the numbers, and it was going to, because normally, like with the military, with the GI Bill and tuition assistance, you usually wind up paying not a whole lot of money, a couple $100 per class usually.
Yeah.
This was going to be like thousands of dollars per class, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, like I think I paid a couple $100 per class, but I went there for a year and a half out of 3 years. I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I left, and my parents were pissed. Mm-hmm. They're like, I can't believe you're dropping. I'm like, I'm just dropping out of here. Like, I can't go here anymore.
Was it just the delivery, or?
It was everything. So, like, I really wanted to get into what I did today, like content management, owning like content management products and being the liaison between, like, I have a design background and I have somewhat of a coding background.
So was it all IT related?
Yes.
Okay.
It was all, like, web design didn't
exist back then.
as a like web design. You either went for, like, back in the 1900s, you either went for programming or you went for
the late 1900s.
You went for graphic design. And that was it.
You're literally one of those people that went to school and you're now employed in a area that didn't exist when you went to school.
Yeah.
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 I went to my high school, or I didn't go to it, but it was they were webcasting it, and then one of my teachers that was like everybody's favorite teacher. That's one of the questions he had. He's like, "How many of you are in an industry that didn't exist when you were in high school?" And I was like, "Holy shit, that's real.
That's a thing."
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in an industry that didn't exist. Like, web design existed, like making web pages existed, but it didn't exist for companies necessarily. Like, it was usually a programmer that did it, or it was some kid that did it on the side for a company that understood it. Like, I used to write HTML by hand in a notebook in high school. So back in like 94, 95, that just shows how young I am, or old.
But that's when the internet was
when the internet started popping off.
Becoming a thing, yeah.
Yeah, but I would sit and write, because HTML was easy. You wrote the HTML brackets, that started the HTML, and then you started with your H1, your H2, your paragraphs, your bold, and that was it. You had image tags and anchor tags for showing images and linking off shit. There was no design in it. It was black and white. Mm-hmm. This is what it was. And that's where I started writing code. So I've been doing HTML for every bit of 30 years now.
Since it's been around, pretty much.
From almost from the beginning. But so I ended up going to I started at the RI, and I was going to school full time there. And then I lived up in Columbus for like a year, like 2 months without having to need a job. Like, everything was paid for. I just had enough money sitting around that I could go grocery shopping. And I laid around for like 2 months and didn't do shit.
Was this when you were working at Burger King too?
No. That's
we'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah, that came up actually yesterday. But it was that money from Burger King paid for a lot of the shit that I did for 2 months in Columbus without having.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Those escapades. But
girls, did Daddy ever tell you the time he was a mule?
I mentioned it in front of Lexi, and she's like, "You never said that before." And I'm like, "Because you didn't need to know that.
You weren't ready for that knowledge.
You weren't ready for that. You're 13 now. You can hear that story." But so I ended up kind of just bouncing around looking for a job. I went to work at Circuit City, and
that's a blast from the past. Every once in a while, I'll see stuff on eBay.
Yeah.
That says Circuit City, which still kind of trips me out.
Yeah, like, so,
I mean, is it still in existence? Like,
no, they're gone.
Okay.
They are completely gone.
Do you remember Silo?
No.
That's one that a lot of people don't recognize. Maybe it was just a West Coast thing, but it was the same concept as Circuit City. It was like electronic centric.
Yeah. Well, we
store.
had Sun TV and we had Circuit City.
Okay.
So I think Sun TV was regional here. So
Okay.
I think they were out of Pittsburgh. They were out of Pittsburgh or Columbus. But we had Circuit Cities or Sun TVs all over the place. But so I went to work there because a friend of mine worked there. He's like, "Oh, you come here. It's not commission based. Blah 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 blah." Well, then I found out that it is actually commission based, and they were only paying like $1.50.
Oh Jesus!
An
So it was
hour.
like a waiting or like
It was like waiting,
like serving tables. Yeah.
So it was basically you had to sell shit, or else.
On a
you
side
weren't-
note,
you weren't
nothing
making
wrong
money.
with waiting tables, but
No.
I never knew about how servers were paid.
Oh yeah, like they get paid shit.
That's atrocious, man.
It is, and they can get away with it because of tips.
That's bullshit,
It's
though.
bullshit. They should
Like-
get paid.
Of all the things that are going on right now, I mean, not to get political, but
No.
all the things that are going on politically, that's one thing that needs to be fucking fixed.
Yeah, that
That is absolute horseshit.
That's it.
For people to be on their feet for 8 hours a day and only make $1
And
an
put up
hour,
with people's bullshit.
yeah, that is not cool.
Like when I go to Outer Belt, I used to drink for free. I don't anymore. They told me why.
Because you were drinking, you were cutting into the numbers.
Well, so the partial owner left the brewery.
Yeah, went down south. somewhere.
Down south, and the new owner is now. Not that it's wrong, because he's the owner. He can do what he wants, but he is all up in their business.
Uh-huh.
He's not letting them basically run the company and sitting back and doing nothing like he was doing.
Okay.
He's like
He's an active owner.
He is active now, and he
Not necessarily good or bad, just active.
No, he's just active, and he's watching the books, and he's watching what they're serving and what's coming in versus volume in
And money
versus beer out. Volume money in versus beer out.
Well, I mean, and that's not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable. So they were like, well, he's really watching things come in. I'm like, because when I go in, I'll just say I'll get this, and they'll just pour me a beer, and they never walk to the computer ever. And I'll be like, you need to charge me for something. Like I need to be able to leave a tip for you guys. So
Yeah.
they would charge. I would have. It would be Liz and I. We may do 4 beers. I may pick up a beer if a buddy's with me. I may pick up their stuff. Whatever the bill is. So they'll charge me. They would charge me for a beer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, a beer's fine. Well, then I leave $40 in tip.
Yeah.
Like I drank $40 worth of beer. I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah, there's a
But
place
now-
that's really close to me like that. Like they'll charge me for food. They don't ever charge me for whatever I drink, so I'll always leave a pretty significant tip.
The problem I have now is I'm getting charged for beer, so if it costs me $36, I can't leave a $36 tip.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like leaving an $8 tip or a $6 tip, which is still pretty substantial considering. But
it's not what you're accustomed
it's not
to.
what I'm accustomed to leaving the people that I love over at that brewery. Anyway, back to the story at hand.
Yes.
So I ended up, I didn't go do the Circuit City job because one, it was the commission based bullshit.
So they paid you like $1 an hour.
Yeah,
and
like
then
well, the job that my buddy did, he didn't get paid commission because he wasn't really doing sales. He was doing like in-store setup and demo stuff. So he would like
he
was
wasn't
setting
customer
up,
facing.
No, well he was, but he wasn't doing the sales portion. Like if someone came up and asked him a question, we're passing a barbecue competition barbecue trailer.
Except for there's a marine symbol on his license plate, so
Wow.
it's probably all his barbecue is probably crayon flavored.
Probably. He's a professional bullet stopper. But he would direct them to a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
He would answer a question or whatever, and then he would direct them to a salesperson, and he never got paid commission because he was like lugging stuff out from the back of the store, setting up TV, setting up audio, like plugging all the shit.
So he was a support guy.
He was a support guy. Well, they wanted to bring me in for sales. I'm like, I don't
want to do sales.
I don't want to do sales. Like that's not something I'm even remotely interested in. So I filled out the application. They told me that I had to go take a piss test, which I had no issues doing, but I didn't want to do sales, so I never went and did the piss test. And then they called me 14 times and told me I needed to go get the piss test. And I'm like, I'm not interested. Like, they're like, are you afraid you're not going to pass the test? I'm like, no.
No, I don't want to do
I
sales.
don't want to do sales, and that's what you guys are trying to cram me into. Like, I don't I'm not a sales and people
I
person.
don't know if you know this about me, but I'm not a people person.
I'm not, like, I like to talk to people. I am not a salesman. Like, as far as, trying to read specs of every single friggin' TV and AV, receiver you have, and, like, having to know that this thing has 800 watts of power, but that's divided across 6 different channels, so it's really math, and I don't do math. So, I ended up not going there.